Welcome to the Female Finance Collective podcast, where we encourage women to have open and honest conversations about all things money.
I'm Jen, and I struggled for many years with debt and feeling financially overwhelmed, so I know how frustrating it can be. Now I'm passionate about helping women confidently take control of their personal finances.
And I'm Mary Lee. As a financial planner, I've had the privilege of working with hundreds of women who've transformed their financial lives. I'm excited to share my insights to help you on your financial journey.
Hey, I'm Sybil. I built my dream life traveling the world and creating financial freedom on a teacher's salary. Now I help women take charge of their money and burn brighter in life.
Let's start the money conversation.
Hello, hello, welcome back. We're really excited for this episode. Jen and I are here to talk to you about what to do next now that you're tracking. We're really proud of you. A lot of members in the Female Finance Collective community right now have started tracking, and they're looking at their numbers and they're paying attention to what's coming in and out. And so we're going to make this episode super practical for those of you that have started tracking. If you haven't started yet, this is your sign. Start tracking now. But once you do start tracking, a lot of times women get confused, like what happens next? And so that's what we're going to address in 3 simple steps in this episode.
That's right. So when I started tracking, it was a game changer for me, right? But at first, I was maybe where some of you are. I was just writing down all my spending, but I didn't know what to do with it, right? Like, okay, I did this and I feel good about it, but now what, right? So that's that now what piece that we really want to talk about today. So the first thing that we think is really important is to do a reflection. So even if that reflection word feels a little too woo-woo for you, like it's just a review, right? We want you to look at your tracking and see what you notice. Are you spending a ton of money in one particular area or at one particular store or restaurant or whatever that you didn't even realize how much it was? Are like just look at it and review the numbers and see how much are you actually spending, add it up, right? If you haven't already added it, add it up. See how much went out that month, because I know a lot of times for me, I spend more money than I mean to or even realize because I just don't go back and look at what I've spent. So, really look at that and figure out what the numbers are sharing with you, what they're telling you, what's popping out. If you're into like a reflection in a journal, this is a good time to like write down, this is the stuff I noticed, this is how it's making me feel like, holy buckets, I saw this amount of money I spent at a couple places and I was like, whoa, I had no idea. Write that stuff down if that's important to you. Otherwise, just take a walk and think about it, right? What are my numbers telling me? You can be really black and white, you can be a little bit more floaty and reflective about it, whatever works for you, but just look at those numbers and figure out what they're telling you, right?
Exactly. And getting in that habit of doing that weekly, monthly, right? And reflecting on kind of different time scales, because we know with our money, sometimes some months are really expensive or not, right? So we want to keep tracking, and then we want to reflect on that and be curious about your money. Pay attention to things like how much are utilities costing me? How much are these things costing? And that gets us into our second point of what do you do once you start tracking. So first, you start reflecting on that tracking. And our next point is categorization. So you want to start looking at your money in big buckets. Things like utilities, things like your housing, your mortgage, or your rent, things like how much your car costs, how much entertainment costs, right? You can really start to customize these categories. But the next step is to really start thinking about these buckets of money. And do I want to be spending this much money in that bucket? Does that align with my values? So maybe you begin to look at the category of clothing, and you can start to ask yourselves, wow, that was a lot of money, or actually I didn't spend very much money in clothing. So is this an area that I feel good about that's matching my values? And we're going to reflect on that, right? Or is this an area where I actually might want to try to take some money and move it to somewhere else? And so don't be worried about getting the perfect categories, things like that. You might be using an app that categorizes for you. You can customize those and you can go and change your kind of categories as you reflect over time. And eventually, after I would maybe 3 months or something of spending, you can have a pretty good solid idea of what categories you want to pay attention to and how you want to bucket your money together. Some people might have dining out as a separate category than groceries, for example. And by doing that, like kind of by segmenting, you can start to pay attention to, do I want to spend that much on dining out, or should I up my grocery budget and reallocate some money there to save some money for the two categories combined in the end.
Right. I think categorization is one of those things where it can be fluid, right? Give yourself permission. If you need someone else to, we give you permission to change those around. I know that there was a time where my husband, he's very analytical, he's in finance, and we had so many categories. I was like, this is too much. Like it was way too much. So we looked at it together and we combined some because it made sense. So if you start out and you're like, okay, I'm just making a million categories, that's okay. It's a great
Yep.
place to start. And you might start the opposite way and then later break them out. Either way is fine, but there is so much information in categorizing and then looking at the total amount spent. It's really, really powerful. That I know for me was the easiest way for us to make a change. We just were like, whoa, that's way too much money in that particular category. We got to figure out how to change it. And so that is a really informative when it comes to adjusting your budget and figuring out, like Sybil said, your values, what you value. Do you really value eating out and door dashing, or is that just like a convenience and you actually really value travel and you could cut way back on that and, move that money over to a travel fund? So those are the types of things that we want you to do. So now, number one, you reflected. You like looked at your spending and you figured some stuff out. Then you categorized. You've kind of grouped your spending up. And the last thing that we want you to do, we've already talked a little bit about it in the categorization step, but the third thing is to reallocate. Where can you move your spends around to make them line up better with your values? So that can mean a lot of things. Maybe you're overspending, and the reallocation is that you need to cut back everywhere, right? Maybe you're just overspending and you're relying on credit cards and debt, and you're like, whoa, I could actually cut way back and pay off debt and spend less and feel better about my finances. Or maybe there are certain categories where you're either overspending to you, right? We're not here to judge where you spend. You either feel like you're overspending or underspending, and you could reallocate from those categories. Pull a little from here, move it to there. Maybe you realize you're not putting very much money in savings, and you could use a line on your tracking could absolutely be your savings, and you can move money to savings. So there's a lot of things to consider. Reallocation isn't something that just happens in a flash. You don't just look at it and go, oh, magic, let's do this. I know for me, we'll like adjust the grocery budget thinking we can cut back, and then after a couple months I'm like, we cannot cut back that much. We can cut back a little bit, so we've got to up that one again. It's something that takes time, and the more you do it, the better you'll get at it.
Yeah.
And you'll feel more confident with like how you move things around. And then going back to the thing that Sybil said earlier, some months you just spend more than others. Like there's holidays, maybe you have like 3 family birthdays in the same month. Like there's just things like that you will learn, like, oh, this month or the month before all of this, we're going to reallocate to cut back. And then after those big events, we can kind of adjust again. It's again a fluid thing. This isn't something that you're going to do once and be done. You shouldn't feel like you're failing or doing something wrong if you have to keep changing it every few months. That's what all of us are doing, right?
Exactly. I mean, you're doing this at every stage of your life continually. And once it becomes a habit and just what you do, it's easier, number one, and your brain conceptualizes the numbers faster and better, right? But let's talk about one last thing that's really important when you're doing your weekly or monthly reflections, your categorization and your reallocation, is that mindset. Okay. You want to do that without judgment. Don't be hard on yourself. You actually need to be gentle on yourself. You need to give yourself grace because otherwise it's going to prevent you from looking at those numbers again. So if you are looking at those numbers and reflecting and you have a ton of negative thoughts because you're being hard on yourself, your brain, your nervous system doesn't feel safe. And so you're not going to want to do it again the next week. And so what I would recommend is that you try to go in without judgment of like, okay, maybe that what I did overspend, it's okay. I'm looking at the numbers so I can change that. I can make a positive change moving forward. And so if you're in this and you're doing one of these 3 steps and it's like not going well, just put it away and try again another day, right? We can't like flip our nervous system without doing something in between. So it's really important when you're doing this money work. We have some episodes on your money dates, right? This is like a money date work. That you are in a mindset where you're going to give yourself grace and try the best you can to not judge, instead learn from it and think about those actions moving forward.
That's right. And this is a time to think about praising yourself and being proud of yourself for the actions that you're taking now, not the
Exactly.
things that you did in the past, right?
Yes.
Because now you cannot go back and unspend that money. It happened, right? I mean,
Yep.
maybe it's the next day and you can return something. That's not what we're talking about, right? Like, I couldn't go back when I had my debt and like undebt, right? It already
Yep.
happened. So it served me no purpose, even though I did it for a long time. Now I can say it served me no purpose to beat myself up about that. So
Exactly.
really focus on what you're doing now, the actions you're taking now. Yes, I'm tracking. Yes, I'm looking at the numbers. I'm learning from my experiences. I'm learning how to reallocate. I'm focusing on what I really value and making sure my money goes there. So this is all about looking in the now and forward and things we can actually do now, these action steps
Yes.
to improve things. It's not about stressing in the past. We cannot do anything about that. So we're just super grateful that you're here, that you're thinking about tracking your spending, and that we really want you to take these next action steps because that's the key. Tracking is really
Mhm.
important, but if you don't do anything with it, then it's not a good use of your time, right? So you're going to track. And then you're going to take that and you're going to reflect weekly. You're going to categorize your spends and really look at where your money's going. And then you're going to think about reallocation and how you can move those spends around to line up with your values, to meet your needs, pay off your debt, whatever it is that you're really focused on. So please let us know if you have questions, comments, suggestions. We're open to all of it. If this is something that you really want to learn more about, we actually have courses in our community that teach you how to do this. We walk you through like step by step. So if that's helpful for you, we would love to have you in our community. And yeah, just keep interacting with us. We're super proud of you. And thank you so much for being here. We will talk to you soon.